Welcome everyone to the CMSA Modified Laws of the Game presentation for the outdoor 2024 season. I'm delighted that you've all joined us tonight. You literally could be anywhere in the world doing anything, and you're choosing to be here trying to understand and trying to make things better. So for that, I respect you very much, and I'm very grateful for you hanging out with us here tonight. We are going to cover the U10 and 11 modified laws of the game tonight and make sure that there's some understanding. Before I get going, though, in the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge that we live, work, and play on the traditional territories of the Blackfoot Confederacy, the Siksika, the Kainai, the Piikani, the Tsuut'ina, the Stoney Nakoda Nations Region, the Métis Nation Region 3, and all people who make their homes in the Treaty 7 region of southern Alberta. I'd like to introduce to everyone John Carlucci, who's also got a camera and microphone on tonight. John is our CMSA referee development coordinator. He's also our mentorship lead as well. So you will be hearing from John and you will be connecting with some of the mentors in the program that he runs very shortly if you haven't already. And he's also a member of RMOC, which is the Referee Management Operations Committee. He's got a wealth of experience. So if you don't know John yet, please, if you see him around, introduce yourself. He's a fantastic man, and he is literally behind a lot of the initiatives and the great work that we're trying to do within the referee space here in Calgary. He's an ASA assessor, instructor, and mentor, and he's been a referee for over 30 years, despite his incredibly youthful appearance. So he's found the fountain of youth. He's a former player and a former Carburn sports soccer director. So a wealth of knowledge around the game. He's very passionate about the game. And we are incredibly lucky to have him here in Calgary and with CMSA. I'm just trying to get the last few people admitted there. My name is Jordan Stewart. I'm the CMSA technical manager. I've coached players from kind of U4, U6, U8, all the way through into university age players. My previous role was with Alberta Soccer as their regional coach for Southern Alberta and also the Alberta Rex director. So the girls high performance stream that led into youth national teams. Within that line of work, I was responsible for player development. So provincial teams, Rex, talent ID, talent development, and also district outreach and some coach education as well, up to a C license level. So a pretty wide-ranging experience while I was with Alberta Soccer. Great education in the game here in Alberta, and that really built on some other pieces that I've worked in. So pro academies, grassroots clubs, PSOs, national team camps, colleges, universities, community outreach, and now lastly with CMSA. So I'm very lucky to be here, and I'm grateful to be here as well. I want to start off with a little piece around what we actually tell the clubs when we meet with them between 4 and 6 times a year to keep them up to date with what we're trying to do with referees. So obviously we've got Project Ref, which is a partnership with Kids Sport and Hockey Calgary, where if you're having financial trouble and you are a kids sport funded athlete, that you can come and do entry-level courses for free. You get all of your gear for free, and you get any upgrading for free. So please reach out and ask us if that is your circumstance, and we're happy to help you with that. Also, the teal shirt campaign will return again this year. So you will all get eventually here a teal shirt that identifies you as a first-year referee, really to acknowledge that you're still learning, that you might make some mistakes, and for people to lay off of you and acknowledge that that we want to create a safe and positive sporting environment for you to learn and develop in the game through. You'll also be contacted by a mentor through our mentorship program, where they will come out and help you to, improve your skills, to feel comfortable as a referee, and also to share some experience with them. So very valuable. I would encourage all of you to take John and take the mentorship program up on this, because it is invaluable for you. We're also running monthly education sessions for you, where you can come in, learn more about certain laws of the game or certain situations to help you continue to improve. So not just building the quantity of referees, but we want to help build the quality of referees as well. And then lastly, into a zero tolerance policy that we'll speak to in a second. John, do you want to speak to the mentorship program?
Sure. The mentorship program started about 3 years ago. And the way it's designed is that one mentor will have anywhere between 1 to 4 mentees or young or new referees that he or she is responsible for. And what will happen there is that that particular mentor will hopefully come out to your first game, depending on timing, and guide you along, and could be up to 4, 5, 6 games with you throughout the season until you get your feet on the ground and you feel really comfortable. It's almost like a big brother, big sister program, where you could phone, you could email, you could text your mentor with questions and concerns, and he or she will be there for you. Um, so the most of the referees who had their entry level or mini um, uh, have already been assigned mentors. If you haven't been contacted yet, you should be getting contacted right away by your mentors, for you to give them your schedule of games so they could work it in within their schedule and then come out and guide you along.
Excellent. And I'll speak to the zero tolerance policy that we're instituting for this outdoor season. And really, we're taking a firm stance against referee abuse, harassment, discrimination, and those ugly sides of things. It's reportable by any person at any time. So even if you're just a bystander and you see something, please report it. There's a form on our website to report it through. And what we're wanting to do is also to give referees additional powers. You can have cool down or timeouts in matches where you can stop the game and ask for people to relax. You can send the teams to their benches and really have a regroup session and chat with the coaches and give them essentially a warning that should it continue from coaches, players, spectators, you're not going to be tolerating it anymore. You can also abandon matches completely, and they're not going to be replayed, and points are not going to be given out to any team either. So you have the ability and the authority to walk away at any moment and to make sure that if it's a safe, or sorry, if it's not a safe environment, both physically and psychologically, then you can feel free to abandon those matches. The key takeaways from this policy for coaches is to coach, not question, cheer, not abuse, for parents. And for players, it's to play, not dissent. So we really want to try and shift the culture into a positive sporting environment. And this is a slide that I leave with a lot of my presentations. It's a slide that I include, that we are going to all set the standard for what's acceptable and not acceptable here in Calgary. So our conduct expectations are very high of players, coaches, and parents. So if they're not meeting those, we need to know about it so that we can do something about it and track them down as well. And I leave the image there in terms of, if you wrestle with a pig, you get covered in you know what, and the pig really enjoys it. So can we elevate ourselves to a level that we're not wrestling with pigs while we're at a football match? I wanted to give you some background into how we've gotten to the place with the modified laws of the game before we dive into them. And some of you might have heard of a thing called long-term player development. This is a document that was produced in 2008 or 2009 and has since been revised by Canada Soccer, or maybe evolved by Canada Soccer into their grassroots standards. So what you'll see from the grassroots standards is this. You'll see a game format, you'll see coach training, you'll see maximum game durations, you'll see goal sizes, field sizes. They're trying to standardize what the game looks like at these grassroots level here in the country. You'll also see pieces at the bottom of your screen around restarts from sidelines being pass-ins or dribble-ins at these age levels. So while this isn't taught in entry-level courses yet, we want to be ahead of the curve. We want to make sure that we're progressing the game. So we have instituted these initiatives and modified the laws of the game for that. You'll also see pieces around no offside and retreat lines. And this is one area that we don't align perfectly quite yet. We have a retreat line at the halfway, which we will get into here shortly. An overview of those modified laws of the game that John's going to share with you here in a second are as follows. Pre-game procedure, the dribble ins, of course, indirect free kicks. We want proper subs at stoppages. So U10s previously were subbing on the fly. We found that to be difficult for new referees to manage. So at stoppages at your discretion, you can allow subs, penalty kicks, obviously, and then the retreat line. So I'm going to pass it over to John, and John, you can take us through those modified laws of the game.
Sure. Most of the stuff, if you've done the entry level, you've gone through, a lot of these laws. This is more of an overview for us because the season starts on Saturday. So just to get ourselves available in a right mind space in order to do our games. When we go through these slides, there's going to be two areas that will really jump out at you, and that's the execution of the dribble in, and also when we take a look at that, we'll have some situational positioning for the referee and also what we're going to be looking for. So the first one is Law 1, and we're talking about the field of play. Not all fields are going to be that pristine when you show up to your games. If you are the first game of the day, we would encourage you to be there minimum 30 minutes before the game so you can do everybody a favor, check that field, make sure that there's no debris on the field that's going to be dangerous for the kids or the spectators that are on the touch lines. Check the nets, make sure they're okay. So, a perfect field will look something like this, where it's rectangular. You'll have a center circle, you'll have a center line. That center line will be acting as a retreat line. You'll have a penalty or a goal area that is also acting as the penalty area, and of course the four corners. The height of the goal, mostly it'll be all similar, but we'd like to see it about 2 meters high, 1.8 to 2 meters high, and 3.66 to 4.8 wide. Now you will show up to some fields that they will not have a proper net, and all they'll be using is cones. So take an image of what the proper height should be and the proper width should be, go over to the head coach and tell the head coach that because of the fact there's no proper nets, I will be the judge if it goes in, out, up, over, or wide. And make sure that you have that conversation with the coach.
We've tried to be very lenient over the past few years with our clubs because these are all booked on club fields, these games for the U10s and 11s in terms of goal size and pitch size. We've gotten to a place where we're no longer lenient. So 6 feet by 12 feet is what we have said. And if you are showing up to games and the goal size does not look like that, please let us know and mark it on the game sheets for us.
The ball, we all know U10 and U11 is a size 4 ball. Make sure it's at least somewhat round, and take a look at that ball. Make sure that there's no blemishes, no scarring on the ball, because we're there for the safety of the players. We're requesting 8 to 9 pounds of pressure. If you don't have a pressure gauge or if you don't have a pump, make sure one of the coaches gives you a ball that has proper air in it. A lot of our new referees over the years, what they've done is they've just accepted the ball that has been given to them, and the ball is somewhat flat. Make sure that that ball has some pressure, so at least the kids have a little bit of experience with a good ball. Number of players in U10 and U11, it's a maximum of 7 per side. That includes one goaltender. Typically, the goaltender should be a different color from anybody else in the field. However, if you do see a goalkeeper that's wearing perhaps yellow and its competing goalkeeper is wearing yellow, allow it to go. If you are wearing a teal shirt and one of the teams are wearing a teal shirt, what I would ask you to do is see if you can get a penny or perhaps have an alternate. Substitutions, they're all at stoppages. So make sure that you double tweet that whistle when you acknowledge the substitution, because these 9 and 10-year-olds, they want to keep on playing. And if you don't double tweet that whistle, they'll keep on going and you're going to have nothing but chaos. So double tweet, allow that sub to come in, and then and restart by a whistle. So the minimum number of players that per side is 5. So team comes late, they only have 4. You do not start that game until they have a minimum of 5. The other thing I was going to mention, Jordan, is that if anybody has any questions, put them on the chat line, and then we can review them and answer them as we go, or when it's appropriate time. One of the modified laws that CMSA has adopted was, in terms of fairness, is if one team is up by 4 goals, let's just say they go up, and it's now 5-0. We're allowing that particular team that is down by 1 goal to add another player on to support. Or, if the teams they want, they can mix up, the better players with some of the more developing players, or they can even swap goaltenders. All that we are allowing because we're doing it for the benefit of the game. And sometimes the coaches don't want to do it. They don't want to throw another player on. That's fine. But that option is there for them, any one of these 3s. Players' equipment. What you're going to see is you're going to see little Sally or little Johnny that just got their ears pierced, and they've got these studs. No jewelry. Go to the coach. As an example, number 4 has some earrings. They need to come off. You're going to hear all sorts of stories, but please do not allow them to wear jewelry. Have them take it off. Once they find out that they can't play, you'd be surprised how fast that jewelry comes off. Make sure they have shin pads. And shin pads should be covered by their socks. Now, we say shorts, but Calgary weather tells us sometimes that it's going to be freezing, and we want these kids to be comfortable. So they can wear track pants as long as they're safe. They can wear leggings. That's not a problem at all. But a perfect player would be a jersey that's numbered, different from the opponent's, shorts, long socks, shin guards that are covered by the socks, and proper shoes. Again, no jewelry. As far as hair apparel, Pro Wrap is probably the one of choice. Some of these kids will have headbands. Honestly, those should come off. If little Johnny is a little bit of aggressive and he reaches over and he pulls onto the headband, we're going to have all sorts of problems. There's going to be an injury that should happen because that headband is not going to give. So if it's breakable, let him wear it. If it's not breakable, it needs to come off. You have the final say because you're there for the laws of the game, obviously, but also for the safety of the players.
John, a question came in, and hopefully you can help answer this. What if a team had 4 players or less? How long does the referee wait for maybe another player to show up? And what happens to that game time? Do you cut out some halftime or shorten the periods? What happens there?
Yeah, so I'll handle it 2 different ways. Typically speaking, it's a 50-minute playable game, 2 25s. We say wait 10 minutes, and then after that, the game is basically done. If indeed a player does come, and let's just say they come 5 minutes into the start of the game, and you've waited, cut down that halftime. But I'll try to allow them to have their full 25 minutes. If you need to cut down, if you can't cut down the halftime, because we want a minimum of 5 minutes halftime for these young ones, because they have cookies and their blankets are out and stuff like that. So we wanted them to enjoy the time. But what you could do is obviously cut down each half. So if you have to make up 4 minutes, cut 2 minutes down from the first half and 2 minutes down for the second half, because as law states, both halves have to be equal.
I would also say communicate that with the coaches as well, because sometimes there's some angst when coaches are keeping time and they go, wait a minute, you've only played 23 minutes. Yep, that's because of this.
Games should start on time and end on time in order to keep everything going smoothly. So as a referee, our job description is to enforce the modified laws of the game for U10 and the U11. Act in accordance with the zero tolerance for referee abuse. So if you feel that you are getting abused and you need to deal with it, you can abandon the game. I would strongly recommend when you go and meet the coaches that you ask who the referee marshal is, and the referee marshal is the player, I'm sorry, the parent team member that takes care of the parents. So, and they are on the game sheets. When you grab the game sheets, you'll see the coach's name. You'll also see the field marshal. If you have time, go over and introduce yourself. If there's an issue with a parent, go over to the coach, say there's one parent that's being loud and abusive. I'd like to have your field marshal take care of it. If it continues and the gentleman or the lady doesn't want to stop, doesn't want to go, the game is done. End the game. You don't deserve it. The spectators don't deserve it. The players don't deserve it. And the coaches don't deserve it if you have a spectator that's acting that way. Write it on the game sheet, send it into CMSA, it'll go to ASA. There's been fines that have been sent out from $500 to $2,500 for people who think that they're above the law of the game. So there's no assistant referee. It's your show. That's why I encourage you to go over, meet the coaches, meet the field marshal, introduce yourself to the captains. If there are any captains, we don't have a coin toss, but if there are captains, introduce yourself, because all of those are going to be members of your team. So the duration of the game are two 25-minute halves, a 5 to 10 minute halftime, and there's no added time. So the start and restart of play, we have a kickoff, and the away team will start with a kickoff. So there's no coin toss at all. So identify on the game sheet who the away team is. Let the coach know that they're the ones that will be kicking off, and the other team will have a choice of the side. And of course, in the second half, what happens? It's the opposite. The other team takes a kickoff, and they change sides. So here's one of the two areas. The first one is the retreat line, and the other one is the dribble in, where a lot of our referees over the years have had some issues. So what Jordan has done is he's put together a PowerPoint where we could have some situationals, and then we can talk to them, and then you could see where the referee position is and where the opponents are going to be.
John, do you want me to give this one a go?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Excellent. So why a retreat line? I'm going to blow through this very quickly. We know that the game's going to evolve. We know that the future game is going to be more possession style, that's going to have more coordinated build-up, probably with and from the goalkeeper as well. And that we know that the game's only going to get faster. So players are going to have to make appropriate decisions from numerous cues in the match, under pressure and under consistent pressure, and be able to play the game and play the ball through the thirds. So the retreat line is going to work a little bit like this. And please forgive me, I'm not a referee and I don't play one on the internet. So John can butt in at any moment. But say a shot's taken and it's a goal kick. Well, we expect the entire red team to be back behind the halfway line, which is the retreat line. And in that goal kick, as soon as the ball leaves the penalty area, that red team is able to then break the retreat line and go and press to try and win the ball back. If a teammate chooses to come short and look to receive inside the goal area, again, the red team is dropped off behind the halfway line. As soon as that teammate touches the ball, the red team is able to go in and press and look to win the ball back. And lastly, if there's a free kick inside the penalty area to the defending team, we'd expect you to blow your whistle for the foul. That free kick would be taken. Again, the red team would drop off, look to get behind the retreat line. And as it leaves the penalty area, the red team can go and look to press and win the ball back and engage the opponent. There are some other options for goal kicks. So say again, it goes out for a goal kick. Depending on the situation, the goalkeeper might be very clever and might identify this blue player up top that's solo and can go and potentially score goals. So they are able to play the ball over halfway line from a goal kick. and are able to play direct. Old rules within CMSA would limit the goalkeeper to only play short. If a goalkeeper can recognize and is clever, they can find that. Obviously, in this picture, that option has been taken away from the red team, as you can see on your screen. And what we would expect a good goalkeeper to do is to play short, and then the team would look to come and press. The infraction or maybe the improper application of the retreat line would look something like this. From a goal kick, again, that red team is not all the way across the halfway line and the retreat line. So what we would expect is you to blow your whistle twice. And John, I think you call it give an audible. Is that what it is?
Yeah, so it's an instructional whistle.
There we
So
go.
when you have a double tweet, the players and coaches will know that, you know what, ref's got something to say. And it could be, hey, everybody's got to be back behind that retreat line before we start. And then you blow your whistle to start. Similar to substitutions, double tweet and allow that substitute to happen.
So we'd expect you to back the players up behind the retreat line and then look to resume play from there under the normal retreat line guidelines. John, I'll pass it back to you.
Yeah, so this one talks about ball in and out of play. So the way that I want to address this is that positioning is key. If we have referees that just hang out by the center circle all game long, you're going to be in a terrible spot to see if a ball goes in and out of play. So what is in play, what's out play? We went through this at your minis and also on your entry level. On the slide, you'll see on the left-hand side, balls A, B, and C. Those are all in play. Ball D is out of play. So even if it's skirting down the line, even just a little bit, the ball is still in play. So I encourage you to, I mean, it's only a 50-minute game. We got a ton of athletes on the line here. So just keep yourself moving and getting into good angles of view so you can see ball in and out of play. Sorry about that, Jordan. If the ball, one of the areas that some of our referees get caught is if there's a shot on goal and it rebounds off of the goal post or crossbar or corner flag and comes back onto the field of play, the ball is still in play. Last year, we observed some of the referees stop play and had to get themselves out of a little bit of a bind. So remember, if there's a shot, goes off of the goalpost, crossbar, or corner flag even, and it comes back into the field of play, ball is still in play. If it rebounds off of a referee, what do I do? In law, there is different scenarios, but for U10 and U11, all the parents and coaches, because of their knowledge of the game, what they want you to do is to stop play. So what we're going to do is if the ball hits you, blow your whistle and give it to the team that last had possession. If it goes in the net off of you, no goal, have a drop ball.
John, I've been super eager, as you can see, to get to that next slide. I'm assuming we can get into Law 10 now, yeah?
Yeah.
Perfect.
So method of scoring, goal is scored when the whole of the ball has clearly crossed over the goal line between the goalpost and under the crossbar. So again, you are the only dog in town. You are the one that is going to be running that game. So if we're not in the proper position to see goal, no goal, we're going to have issues. So we need you. We need you to to get in good angles of view. No offside.
That simple.
Fouls and misconducts. All free kicks are indirect except for the penalty kick. So the mechanic should be foul, blow your whistle, give direction, set the ball up, indirect free kick, signal, get to the drop zone, blow your whistle. So 5 mechanics. Foul, blow your whistle. Set the ball up. You have direction. Get to your drop zone. Show the indirect free kick signal. And blow your whistle. Okay, so those mechanics, I mean, the first couple of games, you'll get a little confused, but don't worry about it. Just work on it. All kicks are indirect except for penalty kicks. So just remember that. And a goal cannot be scored directly from a free kick. It has to touch another player. So if there is a shot on goal and it's an indirect free kick, and the goalie tries to make a save and hits his or her hand and goes in the net, it is a goal because it touched another player. If you kick the ball and hits one of your players in the beak and it goes in goal, it is a goal because it has touched another player. All the opponents must be minimum 6 meters back. We want to have these U10s and U11s the opportunity to play. So they deserve that space. So make sure that we move those players back if there's an indirect free kick that happens. And again, the retreat line is used for the opponents to drop behind when a free kick inside its own goal area. So it's critical that we get to the proper position on the field that is close to the center line so that we can see that all the players are behind that line.
John, there's been a great question in the chat, and I have no idea of the answer to this, so please help me understand. If all the free kicks are indirect, do you signal an indirect free kick that's either arm up or arm this way? I can't remember. I'm sorry. I'm not a referee.
So the signal would be the letter I above your head. So a straight, it's similar to an offside signal by the referee. It's the arm is straight up, elbows locked, wrists locked, and your bicep should be close to your ear. So if all the kicks are indirect, then therefore all the coaches should read the modified laws and they should know that. So there shouldn't be a need to do an indirect free kick signal. And that need comes into play when one person forgets that it's not indirect. So therefore, part of our job is to communicate. So our communication is, yes, indirect free kick. And it's a good habit to get into.
And a great question. I've been coaching longer than I haven't been coaching, and my brain is mush, and even I've forgotten that one. So there you go.
So a penalty kick, law 14, is awarded for an offense that's inside the penalty area. So defending team fouls the attacking team inside the penalty area, or for U10, U11, it's actually the goal area, then it's a penalty kick. So where do we put the ball? If there's no penalty spot, we put the ball in the middle of the penalty area line in front of the goal. So when you have a penalty area, goal area, it's right in the middle at the very top. That's where we put the ball.
John, there's some more questions just in my chat, at least, on free kick procedure, and I'm going to try and combine them into one. Let's say another player doesn't touch the ball before it goes into the net. What's the whistle? And also, do you say anything?
If there is a goal scored and it goes in the net, you cut out there, Jordan.
Yeah, apologies, John. If there's a goal scored, but it doesn't touch another player before it goes into the net, what's the whistle? And also, what's the verbal signal or statement?
Yeah, so it's a communicative whistle. We have instructions. So we would double tweet and say, it was an indirect free kick. Nobody touched it. It has to touch two players. It has to touch an opponent before it goes in goal. It is a goal. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with a goal kick.
Excellent. And just to build off of that, there's a question. So if a player rolls the ball, can another player shoot directly into the goal? It's touched another player, so is that allowed?
It is.
There we go. Sorry, I'm just trying to make my way through a bit of the chat here as well. Lots of discussion happening, which is
so in that while you're looking at that, the last last question was the ball has clearly moved. So we've met one of the criteria. And second to that, it has touched another player. So that it has met both in order for it to be legal to be shot on goal.
Excellent.
All
Sean,
right.
in terms
So,
of the dribbling,
yep.
thoughts there?
In terms of the dribbling, my thoughts.
Well, just like just kind of getting into Law 15 here and then giving some examples of that dribbling.
Sure. So, in U10 and U11, the modified laws has done away with the throw-in because of all the things that Jordan had said at the very beginning as far as the development of the players. When we have a dribble in, we find all sorts of players that are trying to gain an advantage of getting that ball into play. And what happens inevitably is that if they knew it or they didn't know it, they cheated. And so what us as referees, what we need to do is we need to completely understand how that dribble in, how it should be executed, similar to a throw in. So a dribble in is awarded to the opponent of the team that touched the ball last when it crossed the touch line. Okay, you put the ball on the touch line. A player could, if they want, put their hand on it and then dribble the ball into the field in any direction. So they can put their hand on it and then, or they can stand up, put their foot on it, and then they can just go when they want to go. But it must be touched at least twice by that particular player taking the dribble in before they can pass it off and before they can shoot on goal. So they have to touch it twice, and it has to touch another player before a goal is scored. So we have a ready, set, play countdown. We could use that if we want, if we're having problems with a certain team. You could say, look, we're going to do a ready, set, play. Or the kids can just go and you can stop play and say, no, you got to touch it twice and it's got to touch another player. And the earlier we say those things to the team or to the player early in the game, the better it's going to be for your game, because these kids are smart. If you allow them not to do a dribble incorrectly, you're going to have problems for the whole game. Jump on it early, get close to that dribble in, watch that player execute it. If you have to stop play, double tweet, okay, we're going to have a redo. You got to touch it twice and it's got to be passed to another player before you can shoot on goal. You're going to have players that are going to be really nervous at the beginning, and they're going to be jumping around trying to get the ball into play. We allow them 3 seconds to get the ball in play. If they don't get the ball in play in 3 seconds, let's encourage them. Number 7 red, you only have 3 seconds, get that ball into play, and show some empathy to them, because they want to do a good job too, and they're excited about the game. It's their first, second, third game of the season, and they want to do a good job. So we have to show empathy. So Jordan, let's look at how the dribbling is executed. Do you want to take this one, Jordan?
Sure, if you want me to. The chat box is absolutely on fire, so we're going to try and answer a whole bunch of these questions right now. So the correct interpretation of the dribbling would look like this. So ball's gone out over the touchline, over the sideline, and a player's free to dribble the ball into the field of play, right? Any direction they want, as long as it's into the field of play. That's correct. Incorrect would be just passing the ball directly into a teammate. So blow your whistle twice and have the player redo it, where then they will dribble the ball in. Okay. If they score a goal from a dribble in and they just shoot onto the goal, well, what happens then? Again, I think that's instructional whistle. Did you say, John? I'm trying
It is. Yep. Mhm.
to make sure I'm learning here tonight, and then ask them to bring the ball back, correct them, and have them dribble the ball into play for their next action. If the opponent is too close, right, we've asked them to be 3 meters away. You're to come over, instructional whistle again, and back that defender up to the 3 meter mark. Once they're there, the player's free to resume, play, and dribble in and look to complete their next action. There is a question just in the chat. I'm just going to go back one slide. What if the dribble in player only takes one touch and an opponent steps in and takes the ball? Well, I would maybe suggest that that player's not that clever and could maybe dribble in a different direction. What we haven't seen yet is we haven't seen an entire team put all 6 players around the dribble in spot and then say, come on in, and then just all close down the space. Who knows? Maybe coaches will start to game the system and figure out some loopholes there. When they do, we'll just keep modifying and look to keep improving. But if they take one touch and then they get tackled, well, they probably should have dribbled in a different direction then.
Yeah, but what we do though is because he's only taken one touch, it's not hasn't been executed yet. So the restart is incorrect. So we double tweet, set those players back 3 meters, and then let him have a redo again.
Okay. Hope that answers the question. If the ball goes out, do we stop play, then do a dribble in, or can they just dribble in?
No, when the ball goes out of play, the only time that you would want to blow your whistle when the ball is out of play is when the players keep on playing, thinking that the ball is still in play. Then you want to have attention to them, have your instructional whistle, tweet, tweet, ball went out of play. It's gonna, we're going in this direction. In this case here, when we're looking at the slide, it would be the red team, and so you point in a direction the red team is going, and allow them to have a dribble in from the point where the ball had left.
Excellent. I think there's one more question. Only the opponents need to be 3 meters away. Correct. There's nothing in the modified laws that say that the teammates can't be within that 3 meters. And another question here, what if the player kicks it far and just waits till it gets closer to the net since he has not touched it a second time? Well, that would be considered a pass in, right? That's not allowed. If you think about what dribbling looks like, and when you think about passing or you think about running with the ball, those are two very different things. Dribbling is a close, tight skill where players are manipulating the ball across multiple touches and in short little touches. So it's not a kick it and run. That would then be brought back, correct, John, with 2 tweets of the whistle, and that player would be asked to redo that.
Yeah, and I have a question on my chat line here. 7v7 is U10 and U11 only. And if the players mess up the dribble, do you award the other team a dribble in? The answer is no. We let them have a redo, because again, it's all about development, and your patient is going to be rewarded. So allow them to have a redo, and if it just continues to be not executed, perhaps get another, just point to another player and say, okay, your turn, for them to come in to do it.
Okay. Excellent. We're going to keep moving. John, back to you with the goal kick.
So a goal kick, the hole of the ball crosses the goal line in the air or on the ground when last touched by the attacking team. Taken from any place in the goal area. So they could be on the goal line to take the goal kick. They could be at the top of the goal area to take the goal kick. They could be on the corner of the goal area to take the corner kick. Anywhere in that goal area to place the ball down to take the goal kick. It's entirely up to who's ever taking that kick on that on that team that is awarded the goal kick. But all the opponents need to be behind the retreat line. So a corner kick, opponents are 6 meters away, treated the same as an indirect free kick, so they cannot score directly from a corner kick, and a goal cannot be scored directly from a corner unless it's touched by another player. So red player is taking a corner, he smashes the ball, ends up in the goal area, and a defender heads it into the net. It's a goal, because it has touched another player. One of the things that we really want us to be diligent about is understanding what the severe weather policy is. The best way to explain it is that if there is thunder, you need to get everybody off the pitch. This is something that you should have in your pregame when you go talk to the coaches. If it's a bright sunny day, you might not want to mention it, but if it's overcast and the sky is black and you have heard that there may be some inclement weather, you might want to tell the coach, make sure that you have a place where your team and your spectators can go if we hear thunder. As soon as you hear thunder, you double tweet your whistle and say, everybody off. And once you do that, you find a safe place to go also. So when we also talk about the severe weather policy, we have to talk about, when can I get the game started again? So if you hear thunder, you have to wait 30 minutes before you restart that game. If it's an 8 o'clock in the morning game and you hear thunder at 8:25, chances are the game is done, because you're not going to be able to have a legal game with 5 minutes of playing time. So if you hear thunder at 8:05, you have to wait 30 minutes before you can restart that game. If you hear thunder at 8:05 and you start your clock for 30 minutes, but you hear thunder again at 8:10, you need to start your watch again and wait 30 minutes.
All good, John?
Yep. When we talk about air quality, Calgary's had some bad time with fires and so on. If it is at a level of 7, nobody plays. Anything less than that, we have to adjust the timing, or even or even talk to the coaches and ask them if they want to play. But anything over 7, you do not play that game. And you can download the app. There's an app for weather quality that you can have on your phones. Is there any questions in the chat, Jordan?
I don't have any in mind, John, around those two pieces. Just one, how would you equal halves if you've heard thunder during any point in the game, is one that just rolled in.
Okay, so a good question. You have an 8 o'clock game start. You blow your whistle, game starts, kids are playing. At 8:10, you hear thunder. So then what happens now? At 8:10, you hear thunder. So now you have to wait to 8:40 in order for you to start that game. If you haven't heard thunder in those 30 minutes, you basically have 20 minutes before your next game start. So you may want to play 2 10-minute halves.
Thank you, John. A couple others. The most important question of all, if the game gets abandoned, do we still get paid?
Yes. Yes. That game sheet is a very powerful tool. And I think the next slide, Jordan, talks about the game sheet.
Correct, it
All
does.
right. We had one question come in regards to what if there's no thunder, but so much heavy rain that it's difficult to see? I go back to um, telling you that you're there for the safety of the players. If it is raining, sleeting, or hail, and you're having a hard time seeing, and you're definitely seeing that it could be dangerous for the kids, get off the pitch. Write it on the game sheet. Tell the league what happened and let them decide it.
Yeah, exactly. And John, there's another question in my chat box here. How do we manage kind of drinks breaks if it's very hot out? You know, players are going to need water. Players at these ages don't have fully developed, sweating and cooling systems within their body. So how do we help manage that within the games?
Yeah, so we do allow cooling breaks. If it's a very hot day and when you're talking to your coach, talking to the coach, you could say to them, look, it's 30 degrees out, and we're required to give a cooling break when it's this hot, and we will have it at the 13th minute mark of the first half and the 13th minute mark of the second half.
Excellent. John, do you want to take us through a bit of the game sheets and how to get games?
Sure. So the game sheet is a very powerful tool for us. So when we show up to the game, let's say it's your first game of the day, first game of the day, and it's an 8 o'clock start. And you are there in plenty of time. You do your field check. You go over and introduce yourself to the coaches. Hi, my name is John. Can I have your game sheet? They will give you one game sheet. On that game sheet, what's going to be is the coach's name and the field marshal. Make sure that's on there. And get the coach's card for U10 and U11. When you get that game sheet from the head coach, you'll ask him for 2 balls. After you do that, you'll go over to the away team coach and you will get one game sheet from him or her also. So that particular game sheet, what you'll be doing is printing your name on it and putting all the information that has happened during that game on that game sheet. So if red scored 4 goals and blue scored 3 goals, you'll want to put it under a 4-3 score for the appropriate team. The people that do score, it's not needed to identify who scored on the sheet, but the score is the most important thing. If you do have time to put the goal scorers on there, you can get that information from your notebook. So, number 5 blue scored, just put a little check mark there. Number 5 blue scored. Okay. And then that way, at the end of the game, you can tally it all up and put it on the game sheet. Once you've finished the game and the game sheet is complete, you will want to make sure that your name is printed on there and make sure the scores are on there. And what you want to do is take a picture of that game sheet, because at the end of the month, on the 15th of the month, you will get paid for the games that you did. Inevitably, one game may get missed, 2 games might get missed. And when you go in to do an audit of that month's games, you'll identify the fact that you didn't get paid for 1 or 2 games. Then what you do is you send the pictures of the games to Kathy, the ref scheduler, and Doug Kipta, who's the payment officer. And then what will happen is the following month, those 2 games that they missed paying you on, you'll get paid on that particular month. In order to get games, we go through Arbiter. Arbiter will, and if you don't know what Arbiter is yet, please send me an email. And what I'll do is I'll send you an email that Kathy has sent out to all the referees of how to set yourself up on Arbiter and how to get games. So, but continually go into self-assign, because there's always games that people have canceled and or reschedule games that pop up on there, and you'll have the opportunity of picking up all the games that you possibly want. So the games are assigned by Kathy,
Oh, sorry,
and
John.
it's okay. The games are assigned by Kathy and Arbiter, and CMSA will also assign some of the games. If you haven't set up a bank account yet, get yourself a bank account, and then send a copy of a void check to Doug Kipta so that you can get an automatic deposit at the end on the 15th of every month.
John, there's a question here just around that payment piece. If someone's already submitted a void check for the winter season, so for the indoor, do they need to resend one? My assumption
No,
would be no,
no,
unless your banking information has changed.
yeah, no, you're golden.
Another question here. If they were an assistant referee for high school games and they forgot to take a picture of the game sheet, what do they do? Is that necessary?
Um, it's necessary for you, in case the high schools might have missed it, because at the end of the week, we send them a snapshot of all the referees that were there, and because what happens is the referees email me and they say, oh, so and so. So and so didn't show up for the game and so on and so forth. But if you did show up and you didn't take a picture of it, you can always send me an email and just saying that, hey, I was at this game. I didn't take a picture of the game sheet. Can you double check to make sure that my name is on the schedule? And then I'll check. And if it's not on the schedule, I'll get back to you.
One more question here, John, as well, is in terms of submitting game sheets. So we ask that you either take a picture and you email that picture to gamesheets@calgaryminersoccer.com, or, and it's a big or you can drop them off via the Dropbox locations that are located around the city. Please do not submit the sheets both ways. So if you email it, no problem, keep the sheet. If you don't email it, make sure you go drop it off in that Dropbox.
And the Dropbox locations are on Arbiter. You can find it on there.
Excellent. Um, just gonna go, sorry, I'm gonna go into, sorry, here. Uh, John, do you want to walk through maybe what the game sheet looks like and the key kind of pieces to it?
Sure. So this is a typical CMSA game sheet. You'll see on the top that's in red square that it's been properly completed. The score is on there 4-3. For the U11s, what the referee did do is he went to the team and he checked each player off that was there. You'll notice that some of the players are ineligible to play for several reasons. If you do see that, um, that particular player should not play. Even if that player is there, you should let the coach know. Say, hey, this player is he or she here? No, they're not. Yes, they are. Okay, well, it shows ineligible on the sheet. The coach may say to you, "Oh no, everything's okay." If that child plays, make sure that you write it on the game sheet that that child played. Okay, don't get into an argument with the coach that it says ineligible, he can't play, because sometimes what happens is that at game day, things have changed from the night before. It's at their risk of having that game go to a forfeit if they play that child that's ineligible on the sheet. If they play, right on the game sheet. On the right-hand side there, it says Adam Jean is ineligible. He's the keeper. Coach says, hey, yeah, no, everything's okay. We figured it all out, so he can play. All right, let him play, and then just write it on the game sheet that Adam Jean played this game, and let the leagues deal with it.
Yeah, typically players are ineligible due to a lack of proof of age submitted to CMSA or a lack of their player waiver signed. So please just keep that in mind when you are, maybe having some of those discussions as well.
Yeah, we talked about that, Jordan, about the checking off the coaches, checking off the players for U11. U10, all you need to do is check off just the coaches. And at the very bottom, this is very important. Make sure the coaches have their signature on the sheet. make sure that you see the field marshal's name on the sheet. And for goodness sakes, print your name. Do not forget to print your name, because you've worked hard that game and your name is not on there. It goes in to get verified and your name is missing. You don't get paid.
Yeah,
So make sure
please.
that that's on there.
Yeah, please print your full name legibly. We see people scribble a signature and we're like, who the heck was this? We see people just put Trevor and you go, Trevor who? So full name, take your time, print legibly. This is literally one of the last steps you need to do. It's like signing your own paycheck at that point. So there you go. Middle names as well? Probably not, unless you're a John Smith, and there's billions of John Smiths around the world.
So there's some questions that came in the chat. One is, how do I file game payments during tax season? It's tax free. There's no taxes taken off. Can you put that? I'm not sure what email you're asking for in the chat. If you're looking for my email or Jordan's email, we'll provide it for you at the end of the slideshow.
For sure. Another question here. U10s, they don't have any player cards, but the coaches will have player card, or sorry, coaches will have coaches cards. U11s is when we start our player cards and they go through from there. Another question here, John, I'm sure you've come up with this situation. What do you do if the coach forgets their coach's card?
Write it on the game sheet.
Are they still allowed to coach and be present and they're allowed to take part?
Yes, there has to be an adult. If it's a female team and there's a male coach, we need to have a female adult on the bench. So yes, they can be there, just write it on the game sheet. Head coach did not have the card. Let the league deal with it.
Excellent. We've got a kind of closing video for you as well. And, you know, it's fairly evident that, you know, the referees are the ones that lead us out onto the field in a walkout. You're a leader within the community, you're a leader within the game. And for that, we are very grateful and very appreciative to you. So sit back, little watch in terms of what the last year was like, and then we'll get back into some more questions. Excellent. So just in a closing piece, I'm going to send through what that email is to submit game sheets, but a sincere thank you on behalf of CMSA, on behalf of the coaches and players and parents that you're going to interact with. A thank you on behalf of the mentors, and a thank you on behalf of everyone involved in the game, because if we don't have referees, we don't have proper games. And without you, we would be struggling. So sincerely, thank you again. And if you need anything at all, please feel free to send us an email, phone the office as well. There's our contact information there on your screen. More than happy to have a conversation. And I will put both John and myself's email in the chat. So if you ever need anything, please reach out to us. We're more than happy to sit down. We're more than happy to have a conversation. We're more than happy to help you in your refereeing journey. I'll jump back into a couple of questions just after I finish typing out my email here. Um, a question here. Wasn't here for the field of play rules. What do you do if you show up and the field has no markings at all, John?
What we'd like to do is we'd like to have the game go. We could ask the coach to drop cones for the touch line. Hopefully they're the flat cones. Every 7-8 meters would be good. And also a touch line and goal line, and then where the retreat line or center line is, and then we can play. So you're going to have situations where some of the fields are marked and the line looks like some drunken soldier or sailor did the lines. We want these kids to play. They're there with their aunts or uncles. Let's get that game kicked off.
Yeah, we're not going to have too many pitches that look like Wembley and play like that either. So don't have worldly expectations for our pitches right now. Question about the game sheet submission. Is that email on the website? I believe it is, and if it's not, it will be tomorrow morning. So don't worry about that. John, there was a couple other questions that came through for me. What happens when there's a drop ball inside the goal area for the attacking team?
Yeah, so we never want to have a drop ball in the goal area. What we want to do is take that restart and bring it to the side of the goal area and have a drop ball there. So just outside the goal area. And if you go back to that field diagram, Jordan, I don't know if you
Yeah,
can flip back there.
I'm just
And then
scrolling back through it. Just give me one moment.
So let's use the white field, and if you can grab your marker, Jordan,
Mm-hmm.
and put a dot inside the goal area.
Here, I'll zoom in a little as well.
Yeah,
Dot inside the goal area.
yeah. Use the one on the top.
Oh,
Yeah,
apology. This one
yeah,
here.
yeah, yeah. So that's where the infraction happened. So you have a drop ball there, or not infraction. Sorry, that's where the incident happened. Whatever it was. Whoops.
Sorry, John.
It's okay. And then, so the drop ball now would be moved outside that goal area. So just go towards the touch line, the closest touch line. And it would be right there. That's where the drop ball would occur.
So you're moving it from that location out to the closest touch line.
Correct.
Okay. Hopefully that answers that question. I'm trying to respond to a question in the chat, but it's not letting me. So
One of the questions that did come in for U10 and U11, what happens if a player is playing aggressively? Great question. When we talk about these young players, what we don't want to do is traumatize them by giving them a yellow or a red card, especially the U10s. You're going to have a little Johnny who is over the top. Your first would be a warning. Just say that's unacceptable. We cannot have that sort of behavior, whatever it is. And if it continues, you will then ask, number 5 red, could you please come with me? They'll inevitably follow you, and you bring them over to the coach and say, either this player is playing too roughly, is very rough. I don't want him playing in the game for the rest of the game, or let him have a little bit of a timeout, and could you explain to him? So allow the coach to guide the player into more sportsmanship. Do not show cards for U10s. U11s, we might want to give a caution if a player is being a little reckless, for sure. As far as a red card to a U11 player, I would escort him off the field and do the same way that you did for the U10 player.
John, for referee uniform, can there be some white stripes on the side of their shorts?
We would encourage us to look sharp and be sharp. That's the unwritten rule that we have and in a referee community. What we'd love to see is solid dark shorts, solid dark socks, specifically, and dark shoes. If you are starting out and if you don't and you can't buy a new pair of dark shorts, then wear what you just described. Please do not wear club colors. Please do not wear club colors. If you have shorts that say, I don't know, Rockies or Blizzards or Foothills or whatever it is, and you happen to be reffing a Foothills game, I will guarantee you the opponents are going to think you're one-sided. So please do not wear club colors to the game or on the pitch.
This crew is a very active crew here tonight. Lots of questions, John. So we're going to try and wrap it up quickly here. And if there are further questions, you can always drop us an email. So the last few here, when you have your game sheets, when are you supposed to sign them? If you're reffing, sign them at the end, I believe, John, correct?
Yes, so at the beginning of the game, you make sure that all the signatures are there from the coaches and so on. At that point, I would definitely put your name, I would print your full name on that sheet for sure. And then at the end of the game, all it's left to do is just put the scores into the game, onto the game sheet.
Excellent. If a player is sent off, does that team play short-handed within the U10s and 11s?
No,
Excellent. So a new sub would come onto the pitch and look to play.
correct.
Can you issue cards to parents or coaches?
Coaches, yes. Parents, spectators, no. Anybody that's on the game sheet, you can sanction.
I would say that if you're in a game where you have to show cards to parents, it's probably a game that you need to be abandoning or asking your field marshals for some support, because that does not sound like a great environment to be in.
Yeah. So, and you cannot caution spectators. Only people that are on the game sheet, which is usually the team manager, the coach, the trainer, and the players, substitutes, and substituted players.
Okay, this is a question that I'm struggling with. Can 11-year-olds referee U10 games?
No.
Excellent. Is it possible to go over the tasks of an AR1 or AR2 because they have a game this Sunday? So outside of the context of tonight, but a question nonetheless.
Sure. What I would I'm going to approach this in two different ways, Jordan. As an AR, when you go out, make sure you know your signals. Make sure you know your signals. And they're in law book. If you need a copy of what those look like, you can download the IFAB laws. They're in there. If you can't find that, send me an email. I'll send you a screenshot. Second to that, stay with that second last defender. Stay with the second last defender. If you can do those two things in your first game, you're going to be golden. You're going to be golden. Have a pregame with your referee. Tell them this is your first game. Ask them what they would like to see from you. Okay? At halftime, have a chat with that referee. Chances are, if you're an AR and the referee that you're going to have is probably going to be a seasoned referee who's going to give you a really good opportunity of growth. The other thing I was going to say is You've taken the mini course, you've taken the entry level course. If you are refereeing, and this is your first day, first week of refereeing, or even first month of refereeing, I am going to ask you to do the following. If you think it's a foul, I want you to blow the whistle. If you think it's a foul, I want you to blow the whistle. The evolution is going to be, if I think it's a foul, I blow the whistle. If I see it's a foul, I'll blow the whistle. If I see it's a foul, I might want it to play on, and then I'll blow the whistle if I have to. But for us, as new referees, if we think foul, we call foul. Because that time from having your mind register that it's a foul to putting that whistle to your mouth is going to be for sure 3 or 4 seconds. And by that time, that little Peter that has the ball that committed that foul is going to be 30 meters down the pitch. So if you think foul, call foul. And then we evolve from there.
Perfect. On that, tonight I will think sleep and do sleep right after this. So thank you all. Great conversation and a lot of phenomenal questions. It shows us how invested you are. It shows us how curious you are, and it shows you that you want the details. So thank you all. We wish you all the best of luck in your first few games here this year. Hopefully this helped to prepare you some more. And a big thank you to John Carlucci, who is what I would consider an absolute expert in the referee space here, both locally in Calgary, but also provincially here in Alberta. So you've literally got one of the best in the business helping you out and in your corner. So for that, you should feel safe. And for that, we're all grateful. So I'm going to shut down tonight's meeting. This is going to be put up onto YouTube so you can reflect on it, you can rewatch it, and we will go from there.
If there's
So,
any questions,
sorry.
Jordan, if anybody has any further questions, feel free to email myself and I will get back to you within a matter of a New York second if I'm online.
Excellent. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you all very much. We're going to end the meeting now and wish you all the best. Thank you very much and have a great night.